All right, welcome everybody to this edition of the 12 Days of Innovation. My name is Taylor Williams. I'm here with Ryan Pabor and our guest, Jon Gordon. Jon, you've been on the 12 Days before. We're so thankful that you were here with us again, just to help and to share about just your experiences and your opinions on leadership and culture and engagement. And we're just really excited to have you here. So we appreciate it that you're here with us.
My pleasure.
All right, so we'll just dive right in. So, Jon, leadership is so important to any organization, especially when it comes to campuses or school districts. So, what have been a few of your biggest leadership lessons that you have learned in your experience in all areas of organizations?
Well, first it starts with, positive leadership. You have to be a positive leader to be a great leader. You have to have optimism and belief about what you're creating, what you're building, and you have to transfer that belief to your team. Leadership is a transfer of belief. You believe, but does your team believe? You believe, but is your team operating and executing with that belief? So it all starts with that optimism and belief about what we're creating, what we're building, what we're moving towards, because we're going to face adversity along the way. And we're going to face challenges and setbacks. But this is not about Pollyanna positive. It's not about seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. It's knowing that you have the power to overcome the thorns. And it's not about ignoring reality. Positive leaders don't ignore reality. They maintain their optimism and belief in order to create a better reality for the future, knowing that they have to overcome adversity and challenges and setbacks and a lot of tough stuff along the way, just like we've experienced the last few years. So to me, that's what positive leadership is all about. Also, being a leader of integrity is essential, like doing what you say and saying what you do, right? So basically having alignment and your words and your actions are aligned. And as a leader, when your actions and your words are aligned, people can trust you. And that is how you build a great team, is through trust. Because if they don't trust you, they're not going to follow you. If they don't trust you, you can't lead them where you need them to go as a team. So the integrity and the positive piece are essential as leaders.
Excellent. So in the Power of Positive Team, there's a quote that says, "Decide not to allow negativity to sabotage your team." I think that really ties in with what we just talked about. What steps would you suggest to a leader that wants to make that culture shift?
One of the biggest mistakes that leaders make is that they allow negativity to persist, and it exists and eventually will sabotage the team if you don't address it, if you don't deal with it. One person can make a team, but one person can break a team. And too often we allow the negativity to exist and eventually will sabotage the team. Positive leaders don't attack people, but they attack problems and they attack issues, and they don't allow issues and unchecked negativity or conversations that need to happen or bitterness or jealousy or anger, whatever it may be. They don't allow it to go unchecked. They deal with it, they address it so they can build a great culture and build a great team. They have difficult conversations along the way with the team in order to get better. So too many leaders allow it to exist, and eventually it will sabotage the team. So you have to address it. You talk about it at the cultural level. This is the kind of team we're going to be. We're going to move towards positivity. We're focusing on this. We want to make sure we eliminate the negativity. It doesn't mean that we don't address issues. It doesn't mean we don't have hard conversations. We have to have them, but we do so in order to get better. In the Power of a Positive Team, for our training now, we share a STAR model, how to have a difficult conversation as a team. And it starts with STAR, that S, small ego, big mission. So it's got to be about the small ego, but the big mission of the team. We know what we're working towards. Let's have the conversation remembering the mission in mind. That T, tell the truth. We got to make sure we're telling the truth when we are having those conversations. Everyone should tell the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts, but we got to tell the truth. A, assume positive intent. We're telling the truth in order to get better, in order to improve. It's not to give you a hard time. It's not to demean you. It's not to belittle you. It's about the fact that we've got to talk about the issues and we have to tell the truth along the way. And we're going to assume positive intent, that each person has the team's best interest at heart and each person's best interest at heart. And then the R is R cubed. It's about making sure that we focus on respect. We respect each other in these conversations. We focus on relationships. That's the second R. It's got to be about the relationships. Let's not have conversations that hurt the relationship. Let's not say things that will hurt the relationship. Even during the last few years with all the disagreements politically and medically with COVID, everything going on, always remember, keep the main thing the main thing. We have a mission, we have relationships. Let's make that our priority. And we could agree to disagree sometimes and not ruin the relationship in our fights along the way or our debates. We're going to have them, but let's not hurt the relationship. And then the last R is the rules of engagement. So going into these conversations, create the rules of engagement. Hey, culture, hey, team, when we have conversations and we address things, we're going to make sure we do it in a positive way and a constructive way. We're not going to get emotionally charged. We're not going to get fired up. We're not going to yell at people. Create the rules that everyone understands how you will have these conversations going forward. We do that as a team at the Jon Gordon companies. We basically say, hey, got to have a difficult conversation. Let's get on a call. Everyone knows we're going to have one. You bring it out into the light. It's in the open. You talk about it. You air it out. Sometimes you got to deal with the tough stuff, but you always come out stronger afterwards. They're not easy sometimes, but you make the team stronger in the long run when you do this. And also, again, finding ways to address the negativity along the way. If someone's being an energy vampire, this is how we deal with energy vampires. If someone's being a complainer, this is how we're going to deal with complaining. Implement the no complaining rule. You're not allowed to complain unless you come with a solution. That's a great rule to have, especially in business and education today. No complaining unless you come with a solution. Because if you're just complaining to complain and you're venting just to vent, it's toxic. It's like throwing up. Afterwards, you feel better, but then everyone around you feels sick. It's not good. So make sure we're focusing on ways to improve the culture. But as I said, you do it at the cultural level, talk about it as a team, and then you coach at the individual level along the way.
I love the A and star. That was fantastic. Assuming that it's all for the best. That's a really important piece. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, I think that really fits no matter what. Even talking to teachers and having tough conversations about improvements that need to happen in their classroom, the same thing can be applied. So, Jon, you lead a big organization. You've got a lot of people that work for you, and leadership is evolving. It's changing. Communication and leading teams is no longer restricted to a single office or a single location. Your teams are all around the world. Remote teams are everywhere. So when you think about that and the characteristics of a leader, what are the most important characteristics that no longer, what are the most important characteristics of a leader that no longer has proximity over those who they lead?
Yeah, it's not about the person being in front of you anymore. You've got to still build the relationships virtually wherever you are. And sometimes it's FaceTime, sometimes it's Zoom, sometimes it's texting, sometimes it's calling. You got to use all modalities to reach your people and talk to your team. When we were having our Zoom meetings during COVID, we were calling them tiles of talent. And our tiles of talent were all over the place. But you said earlier, when you have that conversation with the teacher, what is it about? It's about love and accountability. I care about you. I encourage you. I'm here to support you. But I got to hold you accountable to our standards that we have for teaching, for education, for making a difference in our students' lives. So we have these standards and there's accountability, but I'm going to love you and support you along the way. That's how we have these conversations with our teachers, because if there's no relationship and there's no love, they're not going to listen to you, and you're going to burn them out, and they're going to tune you out if you bring up too much accountability and too much instruction without building the relationship. Rules without relationship lead to rebellion, is something Andy Stanley said. And I love that. So again, as you're leading people, you got to develop the relationships up front. If you knew someone had your best interest at heart, would you be more open to the feedback? Of course you would. So those teachers have to know their leaders have their best interest at heart, and then they're going to be more open to feedback. So that's the key there. Love and accountability. I call it love tough instead of tough love. They know you love them, you earn the right to challenge them. So now, as we're doing this, no matter where you are, whether it's remote, hybrid, in person, love and accountability come hand in hand, because, okay, now I can't look over you while you're doing your job. So I've got to make sure you're still doing your job, but I'm going to empower you to do your job. I'm going to give you the leeway and the ability to do your job without micromanaging you. And then as long as you're delivering results and you're doing a great job, great. If you're not, then we're going to have the conversation of ways that you need to improve to do your job better. And what can I help you? And how can I help you? In what ways can I help you along the way? Having those conversations. What do you need from me? What could I do better as a leader? What resources? Find out those things. Because a lot of times, in sales and education, it's very similar. Like athletics too, people complain, I don't have these resources. I need these resources. And then you give them the resources, and then they're complaining about more resources. It's like, look at yourself, own your own actions and responsibility to bring your best, because there's someone out there who's doing a great job with no resources. And if they can do it, it means you can too. So don't blame the resources. Look within yourself and how can I show up and be my best for my students, for my school, and also for my community.
Yeah. So Jon, when you moved into that remote portion, and what were the biggest things that you implemented to connect with your team and to keep building that relationship and that love tough culture as you did go remote?
Well, it was really cool. We've always been remote. Actually, we've always been remote for years. I was ahead of my time with our leadership. People
Excellent.
didn't want in office. Everybody works on their own in their homes. Everyone has their own schedule. We are very free in that way. I don't care when you work, how you work, as long as you're getting the work done and doing the job that needs to be done. So for a long time, we've been remote. So when we moved into COVID, we were actually ahead of the game. But what we did do is institute a weekly meeting via online, via Zoom. And Amy Kelly, who is one of our lead consultants, she basically took the lead on that and said, what would happen if we actually use our own principles right now and we became a stronger team as a result of this? If we really had this weekly meeting and use it to become stronger, more connected, more committed, let's do our own principles. And we did. And I got to give her all the credit. She really led the way with that. And as a result of that, we became a much stronger team.
That's excellent. Oh, there's the bells. Jon, can you tell us who our suspect for the holiday heist is?
You really want to know? It's Cousin Eddie. And you don't want to mess with Cousin Eddie. He's not trustworthy, no integrity. He's the guy who shows up at the family gathering. He's, you got to make sure you keep an eye on him. He's going to steal the all the turkey legs, or he's going to make sure he's going to go into the back and might steal your jewelry out of your home. So you got to be careful with Cousin Eddie.
Cousin Eddie, watch out as the suspect. Thank you for that. So, Jon, why should leaders of any type of organization be the first learners of their organization?
I'm still thinking about Cousin Eddie right now. I'm still I'm a little thrown off. Like, what does he look like? Does anyone know what he looks like even? Like, I'm a little concerned. Like, we don't even know what he looks like. So, you don't want to meet Cousin Eddie. Be careful of Cousin Eddie. But anyway, let's move on. To be the first learner is key. You got to be humble and hungry to be a great leader. You got to be a student first and a teacher second. Always be learning. Always be growing. Always be improving. Never think you've arrived at the door of greatness, because the minute you think you've arrived, it gets slammed in your face. So great leaders are humble and hungry. They're always finding new ways of doing things, always innovating. If someone on my team has a better idea, if they have an idea or a solution that I realize I was wrong about and they were right, that's fine with me. I don't really care who comes up with the best idea. I just want the best idea.
Great. Okay, so we can see all of the amazing books that you've written behind you. Do you have an illustration from one of those books that happens to stand out and be your favorite?
I mean, I think Training Camp is my favorite book that I've written in terms of the main character, what he has to go through. He has to overcome his fear. We all have to confront our fear to be who we're meant to be. He has to find his faith on the journey. He's pursuing excellence. In many ways, it's my own journey of having to overcome all the fear I had, all the feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness to do this work, and then eventually to be able to overcome and triumph. That's what the main character's journey is. Very much like a Rocky movie, Creed. It's like that main character really has to overcome, but he learns the lessons on how to be his best along the way. Not the best of the best, but it is about what the best do better. But the goal, eventually, what you learn through the story is not to be better than anyone else. It's to be better than you were yesterday, to be who you're meant to be, to reach your full potential so you can leave a legacy in the lives of others. Because as you pursue greatness and you pursue those standards, you raise the bar for everyone else. That one teacher who's doing great work, that teacher of the year, shows everyone else what it looks like. If they can do it, why can't you? So they raise the standards. They show others what greatness looks like. So that's Training Camp. That's probably my favorite book. Everyone says The Carpenter. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people say The Carpenter is my best one. Energy Bus, by far the most popular. It sold several million copies. So that's probably the most popular book. And The Garden is really impactful for teenagers. The Garden is all about overcoming fear, stress, and anxiety, something that teenagers are dealing with more than ever. And it's about two teenagers struggling with that. One is suicidal, and how they win the battle of their mind. They learn how to win the battle. So I'm really passionate about that book based on what teenagers are going through right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing that I appreciate too about your books is that it's not just telling a story that happens immediately, but you do a great job of explaining that this is a growth over time, and it's not something that you can flip a switch and then you're there. It's, hey, there's steps along the way, and you have to take these steps and you grow, and eventually it comes. All those little steps make that big change that comes at the end.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. We have to work at it. We have to get better at it. I wish you could just be positive in a moment, but we know if you're not wired that way, I'm not naturally positive myself, you do have to work at it. But when you work at things and you get better at them, it's even more meaningful and more rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that leads us to our last question. What are you working on next? What's the next projects that are on your plate?
The next book I'm writing is right now. I will literally start next week. And it is the key to mental health, the key to mental toughness, and the key to high performance. It's the ultimate truth that I'm writing right now. And I can't wait to share it. I've been doing some talks on it. There was feedback and response has been incredible, life-changing. A lot of professional athletes I've shared with over the summer, a lot of NBA players, NFL players, Major League Baseball players, really having a big impact with them. And I know it's going to have a huge impact with educators, with students, and really make a difference once people understand the mindset and how to actually move from clutter to clarity, from fear, stress, and anxiety to calm, to confidence, clarity, and courage. It's going to make a big impact.
That
awesome.
sounds exciting. Yeah, that sounds really good. We'll be keep an eye out for that. So, Jon, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of the 12 Days of Innovation once again. We always appreciate your time and your investment in this and in everybody that you connect with through your work and through everything else that you do. So thank you for being here.
Hey, my honor. Hope people follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Jon Gordon 11, Jon Gordon 11. I'm always sharing encouragement there. Anyone ever wants to reach out with challenges, they can. I do respond to people. Not on how to write a book. I don't do that because I get all those requests. You know, I can't help everyone with that. But if you're facing a challenge, if you have a student, child who's really struggling, I will be happy to help in any way. But be on the lookout for Cousin Eddie. You don't want him at Christmas. I promise.
Thank you so much, Jon. That's fantastic.
Thank you, Jon.